Magnolia Tree. That in the middle.
Yes,
It's 250 years old at least. It is one of the oldest and largest in the state.
Oh, wow.
Just beginning to bloom.
I was reading something about the box plants that the original lady, I don't know. I guess are these box plants?
These are English boxwood here.
Oh,
This type,
boxwood, that's, yeah.
this type here. Colonel Young's wife, Lucy.
Yeah, I
when
read
they
something
moved
about
from
that.
Georgia. They had some farms in Georgia. He was mostly a lawyer until they bought properties in Mississippi. At any rate, in 1842 they moved to this particular spot because it grew the best cotton. And Lucy did bring in from Georgia the old English boxwood. These are cuttings made from originals that she had planted in front of what is now the mansion. The sad thing is, they began building the mansion in 1852, but Lucy died that summer. She never saw it finished. It was a 6-year construction, a four-story house altogether. On the first two stories are the living space. The third story is an attic space. Old-fashioned air conditioning. Of course, in the wintertime, the hallway was about impossible to heat. But with the Stevensons introducing the geothermal heat and air, the hallway can be heated now.
How long is the renovation supposed to take?
Well, it's hard to say exactly 2-3 months maybe before they're totally finished.
What are they doing?
Well, when they first came in, the roof was in very bad shape, and they were able to replace the broken beams and redeck it. They had to rewire the house, modern plumbing, also the heat and air system. And also there were cracks in the plaster. They had to repair that, and they had to repaint. And now they're refinishing the floors, particularly in the hallway right now. And the shutters had to be taken off. A good many had to be replaced. They were literally about rotting on their hinges. This light green color is what Stevenson has decided on, and we do believe that is the original. The previous owner, Robert Snow, insisted they had to be a dark green color. But having looked at the oldest shutters, we saw that the lowest portions was kind of a light green color. And I found an unrestored shutter in the attic when we were cleaning it out, and it was light green.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the Snows had it since 1962?
62. Robert and Donna Snow bought the house at that time and spent 27 years renovating it.
Oh, man.
And he lived here until his death in March of 2017. He was
And then the house sold to the Stevensons?
Stevensons bought it in December 2018. The house, all of its furnishings, and 35 acres of land for $1.3 million.
Wow.
Well, that's a bargain, really.
But the renovation has been very costly.
I bet.
Okay.
Including the east wing over there. That is completely new on the right-hand side of the mansion. Has paneling just like the mansion. Even the interiors are somewhat similar to the interior of the mansion.
So what kind of, do you have like a history background yourself? Or?
I am a graduate of Delta State University back in 2003 with a history major. Everything about history fascinates me. Any tribe, any region, any age, it all fascinates me.
We're from Greenville.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I see. Well, a lot of the historians pay attention to the Mississippi River side of the state, but they often fail to look at the Tom Bigby side.
Right, yeah.
This going down to Alabama all the way to Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
Mobile Bay was when you read Colonel Young's letters, he's not worried about what's going on in Natchez and New Orleans so much, but Mobile. The cash money he was spending were from Mobile banks. And it probably influenced his choice. A lot of his furniture was French. Not surprisingly, they could get it imported from France down to Mobile. And he had a huge warehouse out by Waverly Landing, where the steamboat would pull up, and he could store up to 3,000 bales out there. He could charge his neighbors to store their cotton there. 25 cents per bale per month. I think that was the rate.
Oh.
Had his own steam-powered cotton gin house. Again, his neighbors would pay him to gin their cotton. He had a stall mill out there which doubled as a grist mill. Both of those buildings had steam engines in them. So he was pretty advanced for his time.
Yeah, sounds like it. A real business.
Cotton fields, most of the cotton they produced, they did produce some corn, of course, to fodder their animals. Mules did most of the plowing. 180 field hands worked out here, and 20 house and garden servants. prior to the war, they were the property of the Colonel and his sons. The Colonel had 6 sons and 4 daughters by his wife Lucy.
Wow.
They seemed to be rather healthy people. All 10 of his children had made it to adulthood.
Which is unusual for back then.
Yes, ma'am.
When did the last son die?
Well, Colonel lived here until his death in 1880, and then 2 bachelor sons lived here, George, Valerius, and William. Their friends called them Val and Captain Billy. Val was famous for the fox hunting tournaments that he held here. He had a kennel of 50 dogs, about where the pond is today. They had to import red fox from New England. There were none to hunt out here at that time. Imported farm-raised red fox. 1893, 23 states sent their representatives to Waverly, and there in the library they signed the charter to the National Fox Hunters Association. The younger brother, Captain Billy, was more into gambling and drinking. He loved to play poker in the hall with his friends. There were cockfights in the front yard on Saturdays.
That's my kind of guy.
He was quite a sociable fellow, quite a ladies' man, too.
Oh, really?
Mr. Robert Snow was fortunate enough to meet his last black butler, Luke Richardson, and Richardson told him about the gambling and drinking parties he catered to.
Oh.
He said the captain's friends were mighty good tippers. When the brothers died, Billy, the last brother, passed away in 1913. The mansion sat vacant nearly 50 years. Now, the Colonel had a lot of grandchildren, well over 20 of them, but they could not agree on what to do with the mansion itself. So they quickly divided most of the furniture, and then they argued and argued and argued. By the 1930s, as they were still arguing, children broke into the house. Once the doors were picked open, that became a favorite hangout spot for young people. Local high school boys bring their girlfriends out on dates. College boys from MSU had fraternity initiations in there. Thousands of names and initials were carved into the old plaster walls. Robert and Donna Snow heard about it from a traveling salesman down in Philadelphia, Mississippi. They had an antique shop down there. And this traveling salesman came in and told them about this beautiful house he had seen in the woods. Mr. Snow became so curious that he simply took the next Monday off work. A 90-mile drive getting up here. By that point, trees were growing through the front porch, vines hanging from the roof. He told me how they climbed through the wreckage of the porch, pushed open the front door, and then pulled Miss Donna in after him. One look at the balconies and staircases in that hallway, he said he had to buy the place. Spring of 1962 is when he bought the mansion and 40 acres of land. They moved the family in immediately.
That's quite a story. It's wonderful that somebody cared enough to...
Well, obviously, you've worked here for a while.
Yes, sir. After a couple hundred times, you get the hang of the tour.
Yeah. How long have you worked here?
I worked here 16 years come this June.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
I worked for the old man over 10 years. He was a sweet old man.
Really?
Built this brick wall with his own hands. Took him 2 years to lay down that brick.
Now, who was this?
Robert Snow, the previous owner.
So he was a mason, too.
It just got to a point, his family, as he got to be an old man, he couldn't do the work he did as a young man. And the house started to go downhill. And especially after his death, his family realized they could not maintain the property. The roof was in horrible shape. Leaked something terrible every time it rained. So that's why they sold it to the Stevensons in 2018.
How did it come about that you met him and got a job here?
Well, I was between jobs at one point, several years after I graduated from college, and he was looking for a tour guide at the time, so I came up and visited him. I told him I loved everything about history, and he said, all right, we'll try out a few weeks. I've been here ever since.
Oh, well, you're a real asset.
Yeah, you are. You're really good.
It's an honor to work here. It's a great place to work, great place to relax, and I'm sure Mr. Charlie Stevenson is going to enjoy it. He and his wife Dana, they already seem to enjoy it. He's gotten his bulldozer back there, and he knocked down a whole stand of wisterias, just overwhelmed the woods
really?
behind
They
the
will
house.
take over, yeah.
Yes, ma'am, and he was able to uncover the foundation of the old carriage house, where they used to park the carriages. I measured it, found the edges of the foundation of it. It's about 30 by 30. I have found a lot of little buggy springs out there. They get the buggy chairs apparently and toss them out, and of course there's nothing left of the fabric anymore. You just got a bunch of springs, thousands of them. When they dug the foundation to that East Wing and parking garage, I found countless pieces of china and porcelain, pottery and such. I mean, it was, let's see. I have some more in my car. Here's one I found this morning.
Make a mosaic or something out of it.
Possibly could. This is a piece
yeah.
from a teacup. It's blue flusculus. It was made, I Googled it. One of them I found a label on. Matthew Ridgway made it in England, North Staffordshire, between 1830 and 1854.
That's neat.
I found it just this morning out there. After a rain, it'll erode, and all the digging they do, the rain afterward.
Colonial blue, I think is that color. I think that's what you call it. Colonial blue.
At least the brand was called, and I've called this transfer wear because they'll put it on a piece of paper, and while it's still wet, they put it on there. Then they bake it once, and they glaze it again and bake it again, and that is your transfer wear. But this is a blue flosculus type. It's rare for me, though. Usually you get the ends of these things, and you don't find the labels.
Oh, really?
And so you kind of have to. Those that I have found the labels on, I have posted them on the Memories of Waverly Mansion Facebook page. Check that site out because we do actually. Most recently, they've done posts there on the renovation of the chandelier in the hallway. They've had to clean it and rewire it. Snow wired it in the 1960s, but after 50-something years, it's due for a refit.
Well, why didn't he keep it updated? He just didn't have the money?
Snow just didn't quite have the money. He had an electrician friend help him to wire it. It was never wired until he got it to here. You see, Waverly, pine rosin gas plant out back where they burned pine wood. The sap would vaporize and become that rosin gas. They would collect it in a copper dome about 20 feet wide. And that would be used like a gas tank. It would pipe the gas into the house through copper piping.
Wow.
And that was pretty good for a country house. Townhouses would have carbide gas, which was often a derivative of coal or oil. Gas lighting, you had some money, especially out here in the country.
What year was it?
He built the mansion between 1852 and 58. It was a 6-year construction. Finished it several years prior to the war. Very fortunate, that, by the way, that the Union Army never paid him a visit. The colonel had all 6 of his sons in the Confederate Army. His third boy.
No, he wants us to go. So
Okay.
sorry.
Well, take care. Keep look at Waverly Memories of Waverly Mansion Facebook page. We post updates there. Have a nice day. Some people have all day, and some just a few minutes. I wish I could be taking people through. It's always a pleasure to do that.
Well, why don't we walk up and just...
I don't know how far you let us go.
I'll let you walk to about where the Magnolia Tree is.
Okay. What's your name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. I'm Bob, and this is Carol.
Okay, pleased to meet you.
Are you from West Point?
I live in Caledonia, actually.
Oh, okay.
About 20 miles from here.
Yeah.
Lived there since I was 11 years old. I was born in El Paso, Texas, of all places. Moved away at 8 months old. Lived in Louisiana with my grandma.
Where in Louisiana?
Northern Louisiana, around Monroe for a while. My grandma actually lives in Shreveport.
Oh, okay.
2-hour drive from there. All right. Yeah, we go to Baptist quite a bit. I was on a swimming team at that time. We sometimes go there for the swimming.
Were you on the swim team at Delta State?
I was indeed. The only university in the state that had a male swimming team. Oh. That is a nice college. Very friendly people. Fire insurance.
Oh.
It's no more than about 8 foot deep in the middle. We do have some small bass, several large carp in there, and a good many turtles.
Okay.
Water has always been a crucial thing out here as far as getting to it. Now, Snow, when he came out here, he had to have an artesian well dug.
Oh.
And every time it flushed the toilet, the lights would flicker a little bit, and you'd hear that pump going rigger, 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 rigger. Now, county water does reach this far, and Stephenson had it brought in.
Oh. Well, that's good.
Even in Colonel Young's time, there were 3 artesian wells in the plantation for irrigation and to provide water for what he called his lily pad pond, a marble-bottomed swimming pool. There's a water hole out there, but the marble bottom's long gone from it. Of course, in that proper era, ladies and gentlemen swam at separate hours.
Oh, of course. It wouldn't be proper.
Scandalous to
It
see.
wouldn't be fitting.
Scandalous to see the lower part of a girl's leg, despite the big swimming suits they had at the time.
Jimmy, we sure appreciate it.
Sure, sure.
Yes, I'm sorry. We
Pleasure to
almost
meet
turned
you.
around and said, well, it takes miles out that way.
until renovations are finished at Waverly, I will be available 9 to 5 on Saturdays to talk with people about the history, give them updates on the renovation. I had people come up for a couple of moments and say, "Oh, how are you doing?" I said, "We're doing fine."
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. But there will be tours that will resume eventually, 2 or 3 months. It's hard to say exactly when.
Yes.
Stevenson and his wife will live here. It's likely that we'll have by appointment during the weekdays and regular touring hours during the weekends.
Okay.
I think that's the way it's going to end up. We will see.
And so they'll just live in a certain part, certain wing?
Well, there is that east wing. They can head in there when tours begin. Also, there's the master bathroom behind that. The back walled office is now an interior wall.
Oh, okay.
It does not connect to the rest of the house. It's isolated.
I see, yeah.
Stevenson's also, by the way, Charlie and Dana Stevenson are natives of Meridian, Mississippi, and he is an MSU graduate, a very big Mississippi State Bulldog fan.
Oh, okay.
This puts him 30 minutes from Starkville. He won't miss any games.
What kind of business did he have, or was he in?
Well, in the oil industry,
Oh, okay.
oil exploration. He worked for a while with ConocoPhillips, and he has his own company out there which makes accessories for dirt bikes and four-wheelers. They operate out of California, so he does have a little bit of money. Eventually he's going to build a barn out there for his horses. He'll have 4 horses out there in the field, turn that field that the Snows had into a pasture field for horses. And Dana likes to raise chickens too, so chickens and horses would be very nice for this place. Snow had peacocks in his time. Miss Dana says those are kind of intimidating to her.
Yeah,
So
they can be. And
they're twice the size. Twice the size of a chicken and far louder. Hurrah! Hurrah! I've heard them for years. In mating season, they go crazy.
Oh, really?
Between about March and June,